Well, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I'm sure you're all aware of that. It's certainly been in the radio, TV, and newspapers and any other media. Oh my goodness, I forgot the social media. I'm getting old. Um, it's also been online and all that sort of stuff, so can't leave the social media out. Okay, but even though it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, what we're not being made aware of is that a drop a day, and I'll get to what is in that drop, will help keep breast cancer away. Just one drop in a day. And no, I am not kidding at all. So why aren't we informed that a drop a day of the mineral I'll get to will keep breast cancer away? Well, I'm sorry, but you all know the reason, don't you? It isn't patentable. And if you can't patent it, I'm sorry, it's just not going to get publicized, and it's not going to make anybody megabucks, so why should they publicize it? Okay, well, what is this stuff and what is the connection? This drop a day is of a solution of iodine. That is all. One drop fits on the end of my finger really fine. And that drop a day, well, if we happen to be a lady who wants to prevent breast cancer, we can consider this. One drop over here today, one drop over here tomorrow, one drop over here the next day, one drop over there. Just rub it directly into the breast. That's all it takes. You don't even have to swallow the stuff. Oh, okay. Well, how does this work anyway? How does iodine connect with breast cancer? Well, as far back as the 1950s, it was found that iodine actually accumulates in breast tissue. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all this, what I want to say, citations to the scientific literature so you can look it all up. I do want to let you know that those citations do exist, and if you want to look it all up, you can, and I'll tell you where towards the end of this little presentation. But anyway, in the place where you can go look it up, there'll be the citation tells you that iodine accumulates in the breast tissue. Now, there's a very, very famous iodine researcher by the name of Bernard Eskin. That's E-S-K-I-N for anybody who wants to look up Bernard Eskin or Eskin B on PubMed. You've all heard of PubMed. National Library of Sciences and so forth, and you put in Eskin B and iodine, and up is going to come a whole list of articles, yay long, in which he showed us very much that iodine not only accumulates in breast cancer cells, but iodine blocks and defends those breast cancer cells against, those breast cells, I said that wrong, didn't I? It defends breast cells against cancer. And he was showing that from the 1950s to the 1990s. I'm not at all kidding you. That's what Dr. Bernard Eskin showed us. Okay, well, that's Bernard Eskin, and you can find it in the National Library of Sciences. Now let's move on to Dr. Henry Lemon. Dr. Henry Lemon was a gynecologic oncologist from the University of Nebraska, and in English that means he did women's health and cancer. Okay, what did Dr. Lemon find? Dr. Lemon found that there was one of the major estrogens. There's 3 major estrogens, they tell us in medical school anyway. One of those was strictly anti-carcinogenic. And the other 2, one of them was mostly pro-carcinogenic, and the third one could swing either way, as they say these days. It could be pro-carcinogenic or anti-carcinogenic. And he was able to show that if the woman had more of the anti-carcinogenic estrogen, which is called estriol, than the sum of the other 2 estrogens, so if this one was greater than the other 2, she had much less risk of breast cancer. And yes, this does have to do with iodine, bear with me. She had much less risk of breast cancer, and if she had less of the good estrogen, called estriol, and more of the other 2, she had more risk of breast cancer. Well, what's that got to do with anything? That's estrogen. I'm going to detour for a moment, and you'll understand what that has to do with anything. I'm going to detour to the work of Dr. John Myers. John Myers taught doctors all over these United States how to cure fibrocystic breast disease. Now, that's not breast cancer, but bear with me. Curing fibrocystic breast disease is a big deal, even in so-called standard of care medicine, they still aren't using Dr. Myers' methods to cure fibrocystic breast disease. And how do I know? Well, since I learned it from Dr. Myers, Tahoma Clinic, which is where I happen to practice, has treated literally hundreds of women for fibrocystic breast disease, and it hasn't failed once. What did Dr. Myers use? Iodine. We're back to iodine. Now, he wasn't treating breast cancer. Fibrocystic breast disease isn't breast cancer, is it? No, it's not. It's all those lumps and bumps in the breast, and you can't hug your husband because it hurts, and you can't pick up the kids because it hurts, and all that. That's fibrocystic breast disease. But he was treating it with iodine, and his particular treatment I won't go into, but I'm here to tell you that the iodine cured fibrocystic breast disease every time, and we can do it for any lady who has fibrocystic breast disease ever. No kidding. Now, in the process of doing that, and I'm swinging back to the iodine now, what we found is that ladies who had fibrocystic breast disease, an unusually large proportion of them, compared to women who don't, had low levels of this estriol, the anticarcinogenic estrogen, and they had higher levels of the other two estrogens that can be procarcinogenic. But that was before treatment. And when we treated women with iodine, according to Dr. Myers' procedures, those women, all of them, developed more of the good estrogen and less of the other two. I've even got a publication out on that shows you. It's in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, in case any of you are interested, and that footnote will be in the citations I'll tell you about later, that shows that iodine increases the anticarcinogenic estrogen and decreases the other two. And that's just what we want. We want more of the anticarcinogenic estrogen. But that's only one of 3 ways in which iodine can help to fight off breast cancer, by increasing the anticarcinogenic estrogen. And if any of us are ladies, and half of us are, or probably more than half, and we have more of that anticarcinogenic estrogen, we're going to have less chance of breast cancer, aren't we? Well, yeah. Some might say, duh, but that's true. Okay, but the second thing is that iodine actually kills breast cancer cells. Yes, not just prevents, but kills. Now, there's research from Mexico, India, Germany, all of which show that if a breast cancer cell starts to form, wherever it's forming in the breast, if there is enough iodine in that breast, that it combines with a particular fat that's found in every breast, and it forms something called, here we go, 6-iodolactone for the technically inclined, and that 6-iodolactone kills breast cancer cells. That research is from Mexico, it's from Germany, it's from India. Oh, did you notice it's not from the United States? Wonder why we're not researching this over here. But research teams from those 3 countries came to the same conclusion: 6-iodolactone, which is a combination of iodine and a fat present in the breast, kills breast cancer cells. Now, gee, if we put that drop here and we put that drop there of iodine, it's a special solution of iodine, which I'll get to, and it's present in the breasts, and the breasts naturally have all their breast fat, then here comes the breast cancer cell, and darn thing is likely to die. Now, the Mexican research, no, excuse me, it was the Indian research team. They checked 6 different types of breast cancer cells. 5 of them were dead because of iodolactone. 5 out of 6 isn't bad, is it? It's not perfect, but still, it killed 5 out of 6 types of breast cancer cells, the iodine, by combining with the breast fat. And now there's a third way that iodine kills breast cancer, that gets after breast cancer. I'm saying a third way it gets after breast cancer because in 2 of those ways it kills the cells, in one of them it prevents it by making more of that good estrogen. Okay, the third way is that breast cancer cells and lactating breast cells, if mommy is making milk for baby, have a special transporter in the wall of the cell. I'm not kidding you. You can look it up in the references. And this transporter takes iodine from the outside of the cell and puts it inside the cell. And what happens when iodine gets into a breast cancer cell? It disrupts the mitochondria of that breast cancer cell, and the breast cancer cell dies. No kidding. Iodine is transported from the outside to the inside, and it kills the breast cancer cell directly. This is separate and distinct from the 6-iodolactone killing the breast cancer cell. All right, now this iodine also can get into lactating breast cells. These are not breast cancer cells, but it doesn't kill them. Some of that iodine gets into the milk and goes off to baby. A baby needs the iodine, doesn't it? Sure it does. But a normal breast cancer cell that is not lactating does not have the mechanism, look it up, it's in the scientific references, does not have the mechanism of taking iodine into the breast cell. It doesn't do it. It just sits on the outside waiting for a breast cancer cell to happen. There you go. So those are the three ways in which iodine both prevents and can kill breast cancer cells. Let's review them really quick. 1, iodine increases estriol in our bodies. It does it for men too, but us men don't care very much. The ladies really care. It increases estriol, and that's the anticarcinogenic estrogen, so we're less likely to get in the first place. Number 2, it combines with a breast fat called and makes a substance called 6-iodolactone. Bang! That kills the large majority of breast cancer cells. And thirdly, if you're a breast cancer cell, you carry iodine into you, and what do you know? You drop dead because your mitochondria are gone. Wow! Why aren't we told about all this? I think it's a shame. It's a real shame. Now, here's one of the reasons, folks, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get into politics. I do from time to time. You all know that about me. I got to. I'd rather not get into politics, but they keep getting in the way of health care. All right. Here's why. Because if I'm a manufacturer of this iodine substance, and I post any advertisements anywhere, just telling you what I just told you, a certain group of public service will come down on them like a ton of bricks. And I'm not kidding you. You can look all this up in a book called Death by Regulation by Dr. Mary Ruwart, that's R-U-W-A-R-T, in which she lists instance after instance in which people who, for example, grow walnuts and put on their website information from the National Library of Medicine, which should be truthful, shouldn't it? That walnuts help to keep your cardiovascular system more healthy? They got a letter from a certain group of public servants, so-called, that they would come and seize all their walnuts unless they took those advertisements down. So if I am trying to sell you this type of iodine and I publicize it, they're going to threaten to come seize all my iodine. Wow. How good can you get? Well, there's definitely more to say here. I told you about the 3 ways in which we can either prevent cancer or kill cancer with that 1 drop of iodine rubbed here and rubbed there. That is really all it takes. Now, what kind of iodine am I talking about? The stuff is called Lugol's iodine. Lugol, L-U-G-O-L'(S) iodine. And it was put together by, guess who? Dr. Lugol. That makes sense, doesn't it? In 1829. No, I'm not kidding. The stuff that does that much good that it's still around today. In 1829, it was invented. And you got to make sure to use full-strength iodine. Full-strength Lugol's iodine, that is, because that's the most effective. And if you use just 1 drop, it's within the safety range. Well, what if I use 2 drops? Well, it gets close enough to a level where it just might suppress thyroid function over a long period of time. It's just not best to use 2 drops a day unless you talk with your doctor who's skilled and knowledgeable in natural medicine. Well, gee, there's an iodine tablet that duplicates Lugol's iodine, isn't there? But it has the same amount as 2 drops, not just 1 drop. So you could swallow it, but if you're going for 1 drop a day, I think it's best to put it right on the breast, get it into the breast tissue. You can swallow it if you want to, but don't swallow more than 1 every other day without talking with your doctor. Okay, now here's the problem, and here comes politics again. I'm very sorry, folks. You can only get full-strength Lugol's iodine on prescription. Now, you definitely can get weaker strengths online, no question, but you can't get the full-strength stuff where you can use just the 1 drop on alternate days without a prescription. Why? Well, it's a different group of public servants. And what do these public servants do? They have posted on their website And I've got the URL to the website in the references I'm going to tell you where to find shortly. It's called the DEA, and this, what's the Drug Enforcement Administration doing regulating iodine? Well, it says right on their website, it says, we got to regulate this stuff because somebody might go out and make methamphetamine with it. I'm not kidding. This is right on their website. And then one paragraph later, it says they have no evidence that that's happening. And yet they're regulating it anyway. So you're going to have to check with your doctor who's skilled and knowledgeable in natural medicine to get a prescription for full strength iodine. And 1 drop of that stuff a day, remember there's 3 different ways in which it goes to prevent cancer or actually to kill cancer cells. 3 different ways. And all the stuff, this stuff is in the scientific literature. Okay, if you want to get into that scientific literature, where can you find it? Oh, I forgot something. You can actually use iodine to treat breast cancer. And if you want some little bit of documentation, these aren't in those references, you go to a website by Dr. Jeffrey Dach, D-A-C-H. And in there he's got 3 cases listed of women who fought off their breast cancer with nothing more than iodine. And then Dr. David Brownstein in his book has one of those cases in there. His book is just called Iodine. I'm not recommending that you do that. Don't ever try to do that without talking with a doctor who's skilled in natural medicine. But you should know that iodine has been found to fight off cancer all by its little old self, and you know the 3 ways in which it can work. Okay, now, in Germany, it's even better than that. The research in Germany showed that iodine killed 11 different types of cancer cells, not just breast cancer cells, 11 different types. You can find that in what you'll read also in something called Green Medicine Newsletter. And yes, I do write Green Medicine Newsletter. And if you want to find an issue of it or a copy of it, you go to all the W's and greenmedicinenewsletter.com. And if a person subscribes, they can find any back issue in there, and they can get all the citations and go look the whole thing up. It's all look-upable. And for just 1 month, we're going to have those citations posted on the Tahoma Clinic website. We're not going to have the whole article posted, but you can find them there, and then we're going to take them down again. But they're going to be up there for a month for you if you want to find all the scientific research that backs up what I'm saying. Particularly ladies, if you want to prevent breast cancer, a drop a day helps to keep breast cancer away. Over here today, over here tomorrow, over here today, over here tomorrow. Talk to your doctor who's skilled and knowledgeable in natural medicine so you can get a prescription for the full strength stuff. Now remember, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and don't forget there are 2 ways of getting screened for breast cancer that are out there. One is the usual breast scans. The other one, which was approved the year before by the people who do the approving, is something called infrared thermography. Infrared thermography. Now, the regular mammogram uses radiation. And after several exposures to radiation, and I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how many, experts have said you actually increase your risk of breast cancer rather than decreasing it. Well, thermography is a heat detector, and the thermogram was actually approved for this reason by the same people who approved the regular mammogram the year before. And thermography just detects hot spots in the breast. And then we have to investigate with ultrasound and other things to see if they might be cancer. But thermography is available also at the Tahoma Clinic. During Breast Cancer Awareness Month, there happens to be a special on it. So remember, folks, particularly the ladies who are watching, 1 drop a day on alternate days on each breast will really significantly reduce your risk of breast cancer. No question about that. I didn't say limit it 100%, but reduce the risk. That's what I want you to know. And I hope this has been helpful. And remember, you can look all this up and read about the science yourself. Thanks for listening.